Punishing Fire, which obviously give him inevitability. Taya doesn't really have any ways to break up that combo game one. He also has 1 life from a low main, which can help out a lot in this matchup.
Oh,
So
okay.
I think he's a little bit better suited for the game one in the mirror. But again, Leia made some choices. She has cards like Golgari Charm in her main deck to sort of deal with True Name Nemesis a little bit more. So it's basically a metagame call, but I think Erik is a little bit better positioned for the mirror.
Okay. Well, we are going to be underway here in the Jund Mirror match. Bloodstained Mire for Smith. Going to pass the turn back. Taya going to start off with a Thoughtseize. Let's see exactly what Smith is working with here. As you see 2 copies of Bloodbraid Elf. He also has a Punishing Fire and a couple of lands and a Tarmogoyf, but no Grove of the Burn Willows there.
Yeah, so he doesn't have the Grove part of his combo, but he does have the Punishing Fire and 2 copies of Bloodbraid Elf, which are obviously what make this deck run. So let's see what Taya decides to get here. I would imagine Bloodbraid Elf is probably, obviously he has 2 copies, but still, you probably want to still snag one of them. Tarmogoyf is another option. It can start hitting hard, but she has a lot more answers to Tarmogoyf in her deck. So let's see what she decides to do.
Yeah, Bloodbraid is really one of the better cards in this matchup, but it looks like Tarmogoyf is the one that's going to go to the bin.
That makes me think that she doesn't have an Abrupt Decay in her hand, so she's going to take care of the Tarmogoyf and just deal with the Bloodbraids when they come. I guess she's thinking she can't really stop them, but looks like I thought she put them in her graveyard for a second.
Those are gone too. As a Hymnatoric off the top.
Oh, wow, yeah. So great draw there. He's going to be able to Hymn Thea. That's obviously one of the good cards in this matchup too, because there's not a lot of card advantage in either deck.
See, Smith is going to search out a basic land here and make sure that he's a little bit wasteland proof, which is pretty smart. And, this matchup is a lot of back and forth, just a lot of haymakers back and forth. You're going to have discard, you're going to have good threats. Bloodbraid Elf can make up for the card disadvantage that takes place from the discard. Kind of like old school Jund days, honestly.
Yeah, and that's part of the problem with the Jund Mirror is that sometimes your opponent can just draw more Bloodbraids than you, and you feel really far behind.
So 2 cards go to the bin here for Taya. She loses a Tarmogoyf and a Liliana, so...
Good hit there.
Yeah.
Left with a couple of lands. Not sure how much more action she has. So she drew another land, the Wooded Foothills. Does she have any action for turn 2, or just a land?
Okay, so going to sacrifice right away, so something's coming.
Yeah. She does have Dark Confidant in her deck. That's obviously, that could be a good drop for her, but it looks like it might be a Tarmogoyf.
There's a Bayou.
A black bordered Bayou. Yeah. Very nice lands on Taya's side of the board.
Good clean living.
It's much different from Standard, where the average price of the board is around $20. Here, it's you could buy, you put a down payment on a car if you want.
All right,
and there's a
Goyf. Okay. So she does have a couple lands in her hand. She's going to have to try to ride this Goyf to victory. It is actually pretty big because there's a Planeswalker in the graveyard. Smith draws a Wooded Foothill, so that's land number 4.
Yeah, and the good thing for Tay is Erik hasn't really drawn anything besides he drew the Hymnatoric and a land, but she knows that he just has 2 copies of Bloodbraid Elf and the Punishing Fire in his hand, so hoping to get some hits in here with the Tarmogoyf. Bloodbraid could obviously not hit anything too impressive, so there's still a chance that Tarmogoyf can be a pretty important card right here.
Verdant Catacomb's going to get sacrificed here for Steele, see if she wants to search out a basic or a non-basic, but she did just draw a Liliana in the Veil, which can start attacking Smith's hand a little bit here.
Yeah, I don't think she cares too much about exposing herself to Wasteland. Just want to make sure she has the mana. She's going to press her advantage here with Liliana in the Veil, so I think she actually wouldn't mind if Erik wasted a turn using Wasteland as opposed to casting Bloodbraid.
Yeah. So it's Planeswalker time, and here that is.
So good card for Taya here. Now the question is she going to hold back Tarmogoyf as a blocker because she knows Bloodbraid's going to be coming down possibly next turn. So
you see Smith is considering discarding his Punishing Fire. He does have 4 cards in his hand, 2 Bloodbraid Elf, Punishing Fire, and a Forest. Don't think he wants to discard land number 4, because then you have to top deck another one and start casting those Bloodbraids. I think Punishing Fire is the easiest card to discard, especially because he can rebuy it if and when he draws a Grove of the Burn Willows.
Yeah, you don't want to give up too much card advantage. So Taya decides to just attack with the Tarmogoyf, and Bloodbraid Elf, even if it doesn't hit an Abrupt Decay, it will be able to attack Liliana down to 1. So she won't be able to use the Sacrifice ability next turn. But let's see what Erik decides to do on his turn. He sacks the Wooded Foothills to get another Badlands. Doesn't have green mana yet, but I think he does have a green source in his hand.
All right, so Smith is at 12 life here, staring down a 5/6 Tarmogoyf. There's Bloodbraid Elf. So let's spin the Cascade wheel.
Up, great, great.
Ding!
So I imagine he's going to go after Tarmogoyf and just attack Liliana. With another Bloodbraid in his hand, I think it's pretty safe that Liliana won't be able to survive too much longer. So that's exactly what he does. Abrupt Decay deals with the threat on board, and Liliana goes down to 1 counter. And Thea only has 2 cards left in her hand, so she could play a land, and then it looks like it might be a Hymn to Torek. So it looks like her hand is going to be empty pretty much now. Not a good position for her to be in. She doesn't have a way to deal with the Bloodbraid Elf in play, so Erik will be able to attack the Liliana, even if he has to lose the cards in his hand.
It's actually a pretty good hymn, though, because it takes care of a Bloodbraid Elf and a Tarmogoyf. Now both players are going to be playing off the top after Liliana bites the dust. What's the follow-up going to be? Deathrite Shaman off the top, pretty good. So now it's up to Steele to actually draw Bloodbraid Elf to catch back up in this game. Draws like a Golgari Charm.
Golgari Charm not really going to do much in this matchup, particularly with this board. So Erik in good shape so far. He's going to attack Thea down to 13. He still has an accurate Deathrite Shaman that can start pinging her life total even more.
Yeah, he's the one drawing spells.
There's a Dark Confidant. Dark Confidant can get answered by Golgari Charm. So we might see that at the end of the turn here.
Steele's going to go down to 12 now. I think you have to cash in the Golgari Charm to take care of Bob.
Yeah, let's. I'd imagine you want a Golgari Charm here, deal with Dark Confidant, and hope to top deck a Bloodbraid Elf. Yeah. Bloodbraid Elf would be a great draw for Taya. Beyond that, though, Liliana the Veil would be okay, but not really. It's basically just going to kill a Deathrite Shaman. I'm really hoping to get some advantage here with the Bloodbraid Elf.
Yeah, Goyf's not bad. Sylvan Library is a little bit slow, but that's not bad either. There's a Tarmogoyf off the
There's
top.
a Goyf. So Goyf's going to help out a little bit. Looks like she didn't use the Golgari Charm, or maybe she didn't draw it. Are you sure it's a Golgari Charm in her hand?
Fairly sure.
Oh, so she's going to main phase it. So we're going to get a Golgari Charm, and now we're going to see a follow-up Tarmogoyf. That should hold the ground a little bit, but Erik will still be able to drain Taya with the Deathrite Shaman.
So now she's going to go down to 10. Will Smith at 12. Tarmogoyf right now sitting at either 5-6 or 6-7 or 6-7 range, so it's pretty big.
Yeah. Pretty big. I think it's a 5-6 because that's what it was before. Yep. So and with Erik at 12, if Taya gets another good draw here, she could start getting a little bit more aggressive.
Looking for Abrupt Decay, maybe.
Oh, I think that was a Bloodbraid Elf.
Oh, this game's about to turn.
So that's why Jund is fun to watch.
And there's a Deathrite Shaman.
So great draw by Taya. She's got she still has that 5-6 to play. I think she's comfortable with attacking with the Tarmogoyf now. I think you could probably even attack with both.
It's risky, I think. I'm not sure.
Yeah, with her at 10, she'll drop to 8 from Deathrite Shaman, and then she'll have to take another 3, go to 5. But I don't know. I think it's worth it. If Erik can't, I don't think Erik can drop to 4. I think he's going to have to block. I think Taya's okay with attacking here. Erik already has used 2 Bloodbraid Elves this game.
Yeah.
I mean, I think she's okay with attacking with both Bloodbraid Elves, putting a little pressure, because we saw how swingy this matchup can be with top decks. I think she wants to try to close this game out as quickly as she can.
Yeah, you want to shorten the amount of draw steps that Smith can have here if you're Steele.
And it's a lot of pressure on Erik here. Does he trade his Bloodbraid and basically concede to the Goyf? Or does he just say, I'm going to try to top deck here for like a Lightning Bolt or something? Or actually, Grove of the Burn Willows would be okay too.
He wants to take a look at the graveyard to see exactly what Steele has gone through in this game. Consult his graveyard as well. This is a really tough decision, I think, if you're Smith. If you take this or if you
I think the safe route would be to just trade Bloodbraids and hope to draw one of your removal spells for Tarmogoyf. But he could be a little aggressive and just take it. So yeah, it looks like he's going to go down 4 here and hope to draw something. He's going to gain life.
Okay, so now it looks like he's unsure if he wants to gain life or if he wants to remove. He's going to gain life. Okay. So he's going to go up to 6 now. So he's trying to play for a longer game, obviously.
Yeah, it seems difficult to go for the long game given Taya's board, though.
See what spell he drew, if he did draw a spell. Feels like a spell.
So it looks like it's just a Wasteland. So Wasteland's going to take out one of her red sources.
Might be time to start blocking old Bloodbraid Elf.
Yeah, and at this point he has to block, which I kind of wish he traded last turn, just because I think it would have given him a little more outs.
Yeah, me too.
But
if he wants to play a longer game, I think he trades Bloodbraid Elf and gains life, right?
Yeah, if that's what your plan is. If you're not going to trade there, I think then you just drain her. Yeah, because if he drained her last turn, she could have attacked, dropped her down to 5. Obviously, she has a Deathrite Shaman, so she could start gaining life. But so let's see, she's going to attack again. And here, Erik basically has to, I think he has to trade Bloodbraids there and go down to 1.
Yeah, this is a tricky situation. Because also, the problem here is if he trades Bloodbraids, he goes down to 1, and then the Deathrite Shaman is just sitting there looming.
He can't activate it.
Yeah, he can't activate because then she can respond. Yeah, so and then his Deathrite Shaman is actually doing nothing.
So it's just a staring game. And now Taya can just go end the turn, drain you. My turn, drain you.
Yep. And he can remove as well, but then she's just able to attack for the win. So Bloodbraid Elf off the top is what seals the deal there for Thea Steele. She's up a game here in the Jund Mirror.
Yeah, so again, we thought that, at least I thought that Erik had the advantage game one just because of the punishing fire, but he couldn't find that second piece in the Grove of the Burn Willows. That would have been huge, obviously. It would have allowed him to deal with the Bloodbraid Elf and the Deathrite Shaman and eventually deal with that Tarmogoyf. It would have changed the entire game there. But fortunately for Taya, Erik didn't find that second piece, so she moves up 1-0. And now we're going to go into game two. And for Erik, like I said, game one, he's pretty well suited for the mirror. After board, he's got 2 copies of Duress, 1 Scavenge Goose, 1 Pithing Needle, 2 Surgical Extraction, 3 Pyroblast, 2 Ancient Grudge, 1 Grafdigger's Cage, 1 Umezao Jite, and 2 Golgari Charm. Now the question is, does he put Taya on the punishing version? Because if he thinks that she's playing Punishing Fire, he might bring in those Surgical Extractions.
Okay.
But if he doesn't put her on, if he doesn't, then I'm not sure if it's worth it because that's not really a card you want to hit off of a Bloodbraid Elf. Scavenge Goose I actually like coming in just because it's another threat, and I think late in the game it's a good top deck, and it's something you wouldn't mind flipping with Bloodbraid Elf. So I kind of like Scavenge Goose coming in. But beyond that, maybe the Jete, but all the other cards are kind of geared for to hedge against other matchups. Like I said, game one, I think he's pretty already well positioned against Jund. So I think Scavenge Goose and Jite are probably the 2 best bets for him to come in.
Taking a Steele sideboard here, 3 Pyroblast, 2 Duress, a chain of Mustapheles, is that how you say it?
Close.
A Thorn of Amethyst, 2 copies of Nile Spellbomb, a Grim Lavamancer, Pernicious Deed, Umezao Jite, Massacre, Ancient Grudge, and Life from the Loam. I do like Life from the Loam in this matchup. Smith has his main deck. I think Steele wants to bring hers in. Just Wasteland Lock, things of that nature. That can happen when Life from the Loam comes into the deck. The rest of it gets a little interesting. Like, Umezao Jite, I think, is pretty good in this matchup, can certainly win a game, but you know that your opponent has access to Grudge somewhere in their 75, and Abrupt Decay is in the main deck, so how good is that card going to be? Not quite sure. Pernicious Deed can range from being very good to quite poor, depending on how the game goes. So, there's a lot of options. You can bring in Duress, but how many discard spells do you want? When you look at Jund, in Modern, people are boarding out their Thoughtseizes, so this version has Thoughtseize him, and do you want more discard because they're bad top decks? And then Grim Lavamancer, actually pretty good here because it can take care of Confidant, it can take care of Deathrite Shaman, it can take care of Bloodbraid Elf, and can actually work towards taking down the Tarmogoyf.
Yeah, I think the Grim Lavamancer is a fine card to bring in just because, like you said, there are a number of cards that it can hit. I also like the Nile Spellbombs that she has in her sideboard because she saw the Punishing Fire. It's also, you mentioned Life from the Loam. That is a card that a lot of Jund decks have access to, so that'll help against that as well. I think Nile Spellbomb probably comes in for sure. As far as the Umezao Jite, I still think it's okay to bring it in despite the fact that there's Abrupt Decay because I don't think he's bringing in Ancient Grudges. And I like, even if he does have access to Abrupt Decay, there's a lot of Abrupt Decay targets in this deck.
Yeah.
So if he's going after Jite, that means your Confidant or your Tarmogoyf can still be alive. So I still think it's fine just because it is a powerful threat that can kind of take over games. Yep. But yeah, I think Nile Spellbomb and Jite and then probably Lavamancer are probably 4 cards worth bringing in.
You see Todd Anderson getting up there and walking away, and he was playing against Andrew Shrout this round, so as we find out who did win that match, we'll certainly let you guys know, as that was going to be our backup feature match here. So, don't know if that was a walkaway of happiness for the Crimson Tide fan, or disgust.
Yeah, after Alabama lost several weekends ago to Auburn, I have to say it was a good thing Todd won, did well at the Grand Prix the prior week. Otherwise, I don't think he would have been. He might have just been too miserable for the rest of the year.
Yeah, definitely true. So we found out that Shrout did win that match 2-0. See, Smith is going to take a mulligan here. Yeah. Steele looks like she is happy enough with her 7.
Yeah, not a good start for Erik, having to mulligan in the mirror. In a matchup where you could be facing cards like Thoughtseizes and Hymn to Torok, not obviously a place you want to be at, but I still think Erik's deck it has the tools, like 2 copies of Sylvan Library. That's a card that can be very huge in this matchup. Obviously, Life from the Loam, along with those Punishing Fires. I mean, let's see if that can actually. It's the namesake of his deck. Let's see if it can make a impact this game.
Yeah, wasn't able to make one last game. Did have it in his hand. Did not have Grove to actually get the engine online. Never actually got to cast the Punishing Fire and have it be of any relevance there. So, if he can get the engine online, it's very difficult to beat. But if not, it's just a overcosted shock, really.
Yeah. Well, the fact is, Taya did what she needed to. She won the first game, so now her deck is a little more balanced. She has copies of Now Spellbomb now. She has some of the cards that aren't as impactful in this matchup are out, like Golgari Charm. So her, she still doesn't have access to Punishing Fire, and she still has to deal with that potentially. But she's probably a lot better suited than she was game one.
Wood of Foothills is where Smith will start as he does pass the turn. We'll see what Steele has to begin with. She does have a Nile Spellbomb in her hand, so wasn't sure if she was going to bring that in, but the answer is yes, as here's a Thoughtseize.
So leads with the Thoughtseize, and pretty good target in Liliana the Veil there. And a Bloodbraid Elf as well, but I think Liliana the Veil has to be the card, unless she has an Abrupt Decay.
Yeah.
So let's see what she decides to get
also,
there.
Punishing Fire, Verdant Catacombs, and a Badlands over there, so
Yeah.
pretty good hand.
Pretty good hand off of Mulligan to 6. But again, he has the Punishing Fire, but no Grove of the Burn Willows. So only one part of that combo so far. And Taya led with a Swamp, so she's not exposed to Wasteland if Erik draws that. So pretty good start for Taya. Let's see what she decides to go after. This is always the tough choice because, Liliana the Veil is very good, but Bloodbraid Elf, we saw in the first game, pretty huge. So
arguably the best card in the matchup.
Yeah, it's just, giving you a body and let you cascade into a high impact spell. Very good here. Punishing Fire is probably not a... Oh, she might have Dark Confidant. But if she has Dark Confidant, it gets answered by Liliana the Veil anyway, because she's on the draw. So, yeah, let's see what she decides to go for. I don't think Punishing Fire is worth going after. It's just not... It's not nearly as powerful as the other two cards, but...
Yeah, it just doesn't feel high impact enough.
Maybe she's thinking I have a Dark Confidant, I want to just stick it this turn. But if she does have a Dark Confidant, it will get answered by the Liliana the Veil. So interesting choice here. Taya decides to go after the Punishing Fire, which leads me to believe she has a Dark Confidant in her hand. But we'll see how this plays out. Erik's going to sack his Wooded Foothills, and he's going to go for a Forest. Again, making sure he doesn't get expose himself too much to Wasteland here.
Both players do have... Smith has 3 copies of Wasteland in his deck. Steele has 4 in hers.
Yeah. So the only reason I can think maybe Taya went for Punishing Fire was because she does have that Now Spellbomb in her hand. Maybe she wants to get rid of it before he draws before she gives him too many chances to draw a Grove. But let's see. Erik just plays a Verdant Catacombs and pass. He did draw a second copy of Liliana the Veil, it looks like. So Taya has several choices here. She has a land, so we're going to see a Bloodstained Mire enter play and immediately get sacked.
See if she's going to search out a basic or a non-basic in this situation. Does she want to dodge Wasteland or not care about it? Doesn't care about it. Here's a Bayou.
Yeah, she wants to make sure she can cast all the spells in her hand. So she goes for a Bayou here. And what do you think? You think we're going to see a Tarmogoyf? You think we're going to see a Dark Confidant? Or just the Now Spellbomb activate and draw?
Feels like the Spellbomb to me. It seems like she's putting a high priority on making sure that Punishing Fire is gone for good.
Yeah. So it looks like she wants to make sure that Grove of that Punishing Fire is gone and can't get brought back by the Grove of the Burn Willows.
You see the Verdant Catacombs over there?
No.
Tarmogoyf
Looks
as
like
well.
a Tarmogoyf is out there.
So she's willing to let the Tarmogoyf go to the Liliana.
All right, so I guess she's okay. Yeah, maybe she has a Lightning Bolt to finish off the Liliana. She's okay with that. And Erik does have 2 copies of Liliana, so despite a mulligan to 6, Erik's hands, and a mulligan to 6 and a turn 1 Thoughtseize, Erik is in not the worst shape right here. He's got 2 copies of Liliana, and he still has that Bloodbraid Elf in his hand, too.
There's the Badlands.
And he drew another Punishing Fire, so
wow,
great start for Erik here, despite a mulligan. Liliana's going to come down and down tick to make Taya sacrifice her Tarmogoyf.
I wish there was just a land Blightning right now.
Yeah,
just for old
Blightning,
school's sake.
Blightning would be huge.
Yeah.
Back to the old school Jund. Oh, so that she did have the Dark Confidant. So I think she was thinking about. I think she was going down a Dark Confidant line by taking that Punishing Fire, and then decided against it.
All right. Well, there is Bobby.
Yeah. Unfortunately for Taya, Erik did draw a second copy of Punishing Fire.
Yep.
So this will not work out too well for her.
I'll sacrifice the Verdant Catacombs here. Probably go get a Badlands so that she can play the Nile Spellbomb and pass. 2 spells in 1 turn, not so bad.
Yeah, Dark Confidant, Nile Spellbomb. If Erik does decide to use the Punishing Fire and the Dark Confidant, he could potentially lose both of them to the Nile Spellbomb next turn.
So putting an onus on taking care of the graveyard, Abrupt Decay the card off the top will take care of Bob.
So let's see if he wants to Abrupt Decay. He could choose to abrupt decay the now spellbomb, so
That's
they
true.
can. Although, just don't see that being worth it if he doesn't have a 4th land. He really wants to just kill that Dark Confidant, I think, now. Doesn't want to let Taya draw a card off it.
You see the Somerset Invitational winner from earlier this year, Erik Smith, really in the tank about how to progress this game.
Well, it's a tough call. He's got an Abrupt Decay, Punishing Fire, Liliana Veil, and Bloodbraid Elf. Obviously, Bloodbraid Elf isn't an issue because he doesn't have a 4th mana. The real question for him is, does he want to just Abrupt Decay the now Spellbomb so he can make sure he has Punishing Fire next turn? He will lose the one in his graveyard, but he has one in his hand. But he's going to give Taya a card off Dark Confidant. So if you kill Dark Confidant, though, you lose both your Lilianas.
Wow, so he's going to replace Liliana, take care of the Bob.
Okay, so very aggressive here. He's going to lose. Now, Dark Confidant's done, but he still has that Punishing Fire in his hand. But Taya drew her own Liliana the Veil.
She's got a couple of lands.
Yeah, so you could see you could see how highly Erik values Punishing Fire in this matchup.
Yeah.
He did not want to lose them to the Nile Spellbomb.
Now the big question here is Bloodbraid Elf about to show up to the party?
That would be huge. Yeah, that's one card that I'm not sure Erik was really considering. He still needs a 4th land in order to be able to go Abrupt Decay and then Punishing Fire or something. So let's see what he decides. Oh yeah,
that's Bloodbraid Elf.
That's huge. If we hit a him here, forget it. Oh, Abrupt Decay.
That's fine. Yep, take care of that.
That's a good hit.
Yep.
Because Liliana was dying no matter what.
Yep.
So Erik's just going to take 3 here. I think he's fine with trading 3 life. They don't want to let Tay get another permanent into play. So, okay, good draw for Erik. He did draw the 4th land, so he could Abrupt Decay the now Spellbomb. Tay can still sack it in response. She won't get a card, but then he can Punishing Fire the Bloodbraid Elf and start, he still needs to draw the Grove of the Burning Willows, but at least he won't lose it.
The question now is, does he do all of those things as you suggested, or does he just tap out for Bloodbraid Elf?
Yeah, he could just go Bloodbraid here. Yeah,
that is what I expected him to do, and there's
oh, wow.
Okay. So take care of that,
so
but that's good and
that's
bad.
Good. No, I think that's great because now Taya's more likely to just use the Spell Bomb, but he still has a Punishing Fire in his hand, and he still has the Abrupt Decay now.
Okay.
So it actually worked out great for Erik.
Steele draws a Grim Lavamancer for the turn.
And she still has that Liliana,
Yep.
though, so we're probably going to see that, and the Bloodbraid Elf will get sacked here. And she can just keep the mana up, but she chooses to play a Lavamancer of her own. Okay.
Smith draws his card.
Yeah, no reason to activate Spellbomb yet until she sees a Grove of the Burning Willows.
Drew a Tarmogoyf for the turn. Only 1 green mana, so he has to choose between Tarmogoyf versus Abrupt Decay, and still has access to Punishing Fire, of course, but that's 3. And if can't let Nile Spellbomb get all 3.
Yeah, I don't know if he can afford to lose all 3 of his Punishing Fires here, but he has the Abrupt Decay. Maybe he wants to go Abrupt Decay and Tarmogoyf. Oh, no, he can't. He only has 1 green.
Yeah, only 1, so he has to make the choice.
And it looks like we're going to see a Punishing Fire on Liliana. Yep. So, yep, it looks like Taya is going to lose Liliana the Veil. And then Erik will lose all 3 of his Punishing Fires.
All 3.
Taya is not pressured to sack the now Spellbomb, but I think you want the card here. I think you want to sack your Catacombs
really
and just get a card.
Yeah.
Because you're facing down a Tarmogoyf with no cards in hand. You need to try to get something going.
So we got 6-7 in the house, or 5-6? Got a 5-6 in the house.
So 5-6. Taya does have Grim Lavamancer. Maybe she can. It looks like there's just too many cards in his graveyard, though. So let's see. I believe Erik has just an Abrupt Decay left in his hand.
Yep, that's the last card.
So Taya is going to sack here. I'd expect we're going to see a Spellbomb activation, which will net her a card, and then she'll get another card on her draw step. So she has 2 draws here to kind of deal with that Tarmogoyf. Obviously, Bloodbraid being the biggest card she can draw.
Yes.
Or, yeah, because Liliana will get answered by the Abrupt Decay in his hand. So.
Abrupt Decay, being Bloodbraid into Abrupt Decay is the...
Bloodbraid into Abrupt Decay would be fantastic.
Yeah, that's the nuts, as it were.
Let's
now
see
Spell,
here.
I'm going to take care of that graveyard. Take a draw step there for Taya.
Okay. And Erik is at 14 here, so you end up taking a lot of damage in this matchup between your Thoughtseizes and your sack lands. So
now they're going to try to figure out how big Tarmogoyf is.
Yep, it looks like it's a 6/7 because of the artifact now. Taya just drew a land.
Is that a land?
Oh no,
it's
it is
pulse.
a pulse. Oh,
and
a
loam.
light. Wow. So great draw there for Taya. She can Maelstrom Pulse the Tarmogoyf and then cast Life in the Loam to get some more lands into play. And it looks like then she'll get an activation off of the Grim Lavamancer. So pretty good draw there for Taya. Doesn't have a Wasteland though, so she can't start Wasteland locking him.
That's about the only missing piece of the puzzle right now.
Let's see how Taya wants to navigate this turn. We are going to
Start by
see a life.
loaming. So a couple of fetch lands are going to come
back. I think she has 3 in there.
Yep.
And are we going to see a Maelstrom Pulse too? Or I think you want a Maelstrom Pulse.
I imagine that we're going to.
6/7 is a little too big when you're at 11. I think we can probably see it sack. I would sack here too, I think. There you go. I think I would sack land here too, just because if you sack at the end of the turn, he can respond by Abrupt Decay, and you won't be able to activate your Lavamancer.
It's true.
So I think, but she didn't sack, so now she's going to sack. Let's see if Erik Abrupt Decays or the Lavamancer just doesn't care about it.
Yeah, the question is, does he care? How much does he care about this Lavamancer right now is the big question.
Well, the thing is, basically, it turns off any potential Deathrite Shamans or Dark Confidants that he could draw.
Okay.
So I think eventually he's going to have to deal with it, and if you want, like, because it just turns off a lot of your draws.
Okay.
So obviously you want to kill a Tarmogoyf, but I don't know. I think it turns off a lot of your draws, so you might want to just deal with it as opposed to take 2. But maybe he thinks he has a couple more turns before he has to actually do it.
It's also kind of interesting too, right? Because he's got Steele has a Lavamancer that she can fire away with, but does she want to do that on the risk of, if she draws a Tarmogoyf, which is smaller now?
I think she's okay with that. Eric's at 14. I mean, she's got a threat on board. Like, just go for it. I don't think Tarmogoyf's still going to be like a 3/4, 4/5 probably at the very least. So
there's a Deathrite Shaman.
Yeah, now she's got 4 damage each turn she could do. So Erik under a 3-turn clock here, and he's going to use the Abrupt Decay on the Deathrite Shaman instead. So
would you rather kill Deathrite or would you rather kill Grim Lavamancer?
That's the thing I don't understand. They're effectively the same thing,
okay.
Except Deathrite Lavamancer turns off a lot of your draws.
Yep. And that's exactly, you see that right now, right? Where Liliana, had he Abrupt Decayed the Grim Lavamancer, he plays Liliana, he minuses it. Now Grim Lavamancer can finish off Liliana.
Exactly.
And now we're both in top deck mode again.
Yeah, so you can't go after Deathrite there, because even though it drains him, Lavamancer does it too, but it goes after cards like Liliana Veil, and it can kill draws like Deathrite Shaman or Dark Confidant.
Yep.
So Erik does find an answer to Lavamancer, but he loses his Liliana as a result. And there's a Dark Confidant for Taya. So another good draw that can get her a little more card advantage in this matchup. Erik has no cards in hand.
What's off the top?
And
it's a Bloodstained Mire. Pass the turn back. Steele's going to draw. It's a Lightning Bolt. And she's going to go down to 9.
So great draw. She can attack Erik down to 10, and that Lightning Bolt is going to do a little more damage. Thoughtseize, this is where Thoughtseize is at its worst, because a lot of these games end up coming down to top deck modes anyway, and Thoughtseize is basically just a do-nothing at this point of the game. But you can't really board them out because there are so many important cards you need to take on turn 1, like Dark Confidant, Tarmogoyf. So Erik is just going to sack his land, thin his deck out a little bit more, and try to get those top decks. And this is the thing. No matter how good it looks for Taya, the game is so swingy. Erik can... Because how good Bloodbraid Elf.
Yeah, I was gonna say we're one Bloodbraid Elf away from Erik Smith getting back into this game.
From just dominating the game. Yeah, it's crazy.
Heck, even one Tarmogoyf, honestly. Draw a card.
Tarmogoyf.
There's a Deathrite
Shaman that can get answered by Lightning Bolt. Let's see if I don't think she needs to just yet.
Hey, I think she has a turn. She can afford to untap with Bob, draw the card.
If you draw Liliana, you'll regret it. So.
Yep. There's a Nile Spellbomb that she can choose to cycle if she wants to get deeper into her deck.
Yeah, so now I think it's okay Lightning Bolting. You want to be able to attack with your Dark Confidant. You don't want to let him gain life with Deathrite anyway. So, and Spellbomb will let you cycle. I like cycling here. I would just straight up cycle. He doesn't have Grove in play, and he has no cards in his hand, so if he top decks Fire, the last Fire in his deck, I don't think you care.
I would have liked to seen cycling first before bolting, so we're working with better information.
Yeah.
She just drew another Lightning Bolt, so that's okay. It ends up not mattering very much. Attack for 2, put Smith down to 7. There's a Verdant Catacombs past the turn back. Smith will draw a card.
Oh,
Ding!
Wow.
All right, let's see it, boys and girls.
Let's see.
Tarmogoyf.
That was the best card he could hit, I think. You needed something big. Taya does have a Lightning Bolt to deal with the Bloodbraid Elf, but now all of a sudden she's on the back. She's on the defensive now.
So we got a 4.
And Taya wisely didn't sack those lands to kind of thin out her deck a little bit because she's pretty low. She wants to, you're at the point where thinning out your deck is not as good as like preserving your life total.
So Bloodbraid Elf's going to come across. It's going to put Steele down to 6.
Is she going to bolt it?
I think she might bolt it.
Oh, okay. You know what? I actually don't like that play. I think you want to just hold on to the bolt and just take 3.
Okay, so she's still at 9. She draws a Tarmogoyf of her own and a Deathrite Shaman off of Bob.
Yeah, because if you hold on to the bolt, you can potentially just kill Erik if you top deck like an Abrupt Decay bolt.
Yeah, that's true. Well,
But
now Tarmogoyf's going to stare at each other for now.
yeah, but she has a Death Right Shaman, so she's still threatening lethal. So all of a sudden, because of that top deck Tarmogoyf, Taya is now back in the driver's seat.
There's a Bloodstained Mire, pass the turn back. Bob, what do you show? There's a Wasteland, so the Loam Lock could go on, but it's much too late for that.
Yeah, we're not in that phase of the game now. Erik is probably going to get. Yeah, Taya can just try to start draining him out with Deathrite Shamans here. So let's see if Erik can top deck out of this.
There's a him.
Him, not going to do much, just going to get rid of 2 lands.
You see why discard in the late stages of the game, quite poor.
Yeah, the discard's so bad at this point in the game. That's why some people shaved some of the numbers after board.
See, Deathrite activation, going to drain Smith down to 5.
Let's see, Dark Confidant, what is that going to hit? Another Deathrite Shaman and a Thoughtseize. So let's see what. Does Thea want to just attack with everything?
Not sure.
I think it's okay attacking with Dark Confidant Tarmogoyf, right?
Because it forces the block.
He has to block Tarmogoyf, and you end up dropping him to 3.
Well, either way, I think this is going to wrap it up, right? Because we're going to see a drain
lethal.
here. It's going to put Smith down to 3. She'll untap.
And she has 2 Deathrite activations.
She's got 2 Deathrite activations.
Unless she doesn't have 2 more instants or sorceries in her graveyard.
Bob's going to show a Bloodstain. She'll draw a Tarmogoyf, and she can attack appropriately this turn as well. She just turns everything sideways and should get it done. But there's a Lightning Bolt and a Pulse, and an extension of the hand. Taya Steele doesn't need Punishing Fire to win this match. Wins the Jund Mir 2-0 over Erik Smith, and she moves on to 11-2 and a big smile on her face.
Yeah,